Hello everyone. Today I would like to share some of my experiences in learning English. Learning English can be very difficult, but it can also be easy and not take too much time if you study the right way. I will share from the first day of learning English. At that time, I only knew the alphabet and a few simple words. I felt very sad, self-conscious, and shy whenever I met someone who spoke English. I didn't have the money to study with a teacher or go to a language center, so I decided to teach myself. First, I prepared a smartphone with internet access, a small notebook, a pen, and a dictionary. I began my self-study journey by practicing listening. I listened to short and simple English stories. I listened every day many times, and then tried to repeat the stories aloud. Gradually, I learned how to say the sentences and how to use the words in context. After I got used to listening to short stories, I started listening to songs I liked and even short messages. That helped me a lot. I gradually improved my English level by listening to longer stories, longer songs, or longer news pieces. During the listening process, I would write down any words I didn't understand in my notebook, then look them up in the dictionary or on my phone. I wrote down the meaning and reviewed them every day. At first, I simply wrote down the words and their meanings beside them, then kept reviewing them like that. Gradually, I was able to remember many new words. Then, I went back and listened to the original stories, songs, and messages again. I slowly began to understand the content of the stories, songs, or messages. That made me very happy and much more confident. Now I will talk about the next step in my self-learning journey, speaking. Speaking is one of the most important parts of learning English. I practiced speaking every day. Sometimes I made mistakes, but it didn't matter. I believed those mistakes were actually helpful, as they taught me a lot. That's why I wasn't afraid or ashamed. I kept speaking English every day. At first, I practiced speaking by myself. Then I tried speaking a few sentences with friends who knew some English. When I made mistakes, they corrected me, and that helped me improve a lot. Sometimes, I looked for new friends online, or I went to the city center to meet and talk with foreign visitors. At first, I was shy and hesitant, but later I became more confident. Even if I spoke incorrectly, they still understood me, which made me feel even more confident and happy. Another important step is reading. Reading is extremely helpful when learning English. At first, I read the stories, news clips, and song lyrics that I had previously listened to. I tried to read them the same way I heard people read them online. Whenever I came across any difficult words, I wrote them down and practiced reading them. Gradually, I became better at reading and remembered more vocabulary. When you read, you learn a lot of new words and how to use them in sentences. I still remember when I used to read bilingual comic books about rabbits. It was a simple story, but I enjoyed it very much. I learned a lot of new words from that story. It was so interesting that I remembered it for a long time. I read it every day or whenever I had time. It helped me a lot. Later, I read longer bilingual comics, such as ones about sunflowers or ants. I felt very excited reading while writing down unfamiliar words to look up their meanings and translate the stories. Understanding the story content made me even more excited and motivated to read more. While reading, I also listened to short stories online. At first, I understood very little, but gradually, I understood more and found it more enjoyable. Next is writing, which is also extremely important. When you write, you have to use vocabulary. At first, I used simple words I knew and put them together into short sentences. You might make mistakes when writing, But that's okay, just keep writing to get used to it. Writing also helps you remember new words, how to use them, and how to structure sentences. I wrote about my daily life, my hobbies, my family, and even my dreams, anything I liked. Writing helped me improve a lot. When I practiced writing in English, I felt much more confident. I was no longer afraid to face people who could speak English. As my English improved, I used it to speak more confidently with others. I watched fun cartoons, listened to my favorite songs, and even watched short comedy videos. All of this helped me a lot. I noticed that when I was happy, I learned faster, remembered longer, and could even understand sentences even if I didn't know every word. It meant I could guess the meaning of new words from the context of the story or video. I felt full of energy when my guess was correct. It felt like I had just discovered something new. That feeling was amazing and made me even more motivated to keep learning English. In my free time, I often met up with friends, especially those who knew English, and I spoke confidently with them. When I made mistakes, they helped correct me. That way, I kept improving and learning more new words and how to use them correctly in sentences. Gradually, I made fewer mistakes and felt more excited and happy when they praised me. If you don't know anyone who speaks English, you can find friends online. There are many people who want to learn English just like you. They also want someone to practice with, so you should be proactive in connecting with them and building meaningful relationships to support each other in self-studying English. As I mentioned earlier, I also looked for people online or went to the city center to talk to foreigners using simple sentences. As my English improved, I started thinking in English. At first, it was very difficult. I had to translate everything in my head, which was slow, but over time it became easier. But I must remind you that learning English, especially self-learning, requires a high level of patience. Learning any language takes a lot of time, so don't give up when things get hard. I remember that at one point, I felt very sad. I even stopped studying for a short while. When I felt like I was spending too much time but not learning much or understanding even simple things, I became discouraged. But later, I didn't give up. I tried again and decided to set clear goals for myself. Setting goals helped me stay focused and on the right path. I broke down my big goal into smaller steps. Then, I planned my time carefully to fit those small goals into my day. On average, I only spent a little bit of time each day learning English. At first, I set a goal to learn 5 new English words a day through listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Then I raised it to 7, then 10. After that, I set a slightly bigger goal, reading 1 paragraph or 1 short story in English every day. These small goals helped me make fast progress and stay on the right track. I felt really happy. Every day, I tried to complete 1 small goal, and over time, I achieved bigger goals to reach my final destination. To remember new words quickly and for a long time, I used all 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing flexibly. First, I chose a topic I liked. I thought about it and wrote down the words I didn't know. Then I looked up their meanings and wrote them beside the words. Sometimes, I drew pictures or used symbols or collected photos from magazines and placed them next to the new words. That helped me remember them for a long time. Do you know why? Because I once read a book about the right brain, which helps with long-term memory. To activate the right brain, you need to present knowledge in the form of images, sounds, and actions. I used this method to learn vocabulary. After memorizing the new words, I found short stories, cartoons, or text related to those words to read and listen to. At first, I understood only about 40%. I watched and listened many times until I gradually understood more, from 40% to 60%, and eventually 90% or even 100%. For example, when I learned the word flower, I drew a flower next to it. When I learned sun, I pasted a picture of the sun next to the word. That helped me remember for much longer. After learning and remembering those new words, I used them in full sentences through speaking, reading, and writing. For example, for the word flower I wrote, "This flower is red." "This flower is beautiful." "This flower smells nice." For the word sun I wrote,
The sun rises in the east in the morning. The sun shines brightly. The sun lights up everything.
Besides patience and sticking to your goals, you must always think positively and believe in yourself. Always believe that you are smart, talented, and capable. When you feel like giving up, remember why you started. That belief will help you reach your goal. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Making mistakes is part of learning a new language. Everyone makes mistakes, even those who study in schools and centers. You are self-studying without a teacher to guide you, so making mistakes is perfectly normal. In fact, those mistakes can become your greatest lessons. They are like teachers helping you learn, not obstacles to stop you. Learn from your mistakes, and you will get better. Learning English, especially self-learning, is a long journey you must go through. Think of it as an adventure where you explore and discover new things step by step. You'll feel more excited and relaxed, and learning will become easier and more enjoyable. And especially when you self-study, there are no teachers checking your work, so there's no pressure. You can feel completely free and happy. With these learning methods, English became much easier and simpler for me. And I think it's the same for you.